We don't know how thick that base is to support the weight of what's already there. If we added the shotcrete in addition.
Yeah, we would build a new foundation,
Additional
it would be
feet.
self-supporting,
Yeah.
so you would
Okay.
avoid that.
So
So
there's only, I mean, the one concern is, yeah, the thing might fall down. I think very few of us think that that's highly probable. I mean, we're at the end of the same fault that caused a huge earthquake at Helena a few years ago and did a lot of destruction, so it's actually not beyond the realm of possibility at all, since we're on the same fault. But I think in general, most of us think having it fall down is relatively unlikely, but it also has to hold water.
Yeah.
And that's what we really want it for. And so both its capacity and its ability to hold water are also maybe more salient and significant features in consideration of the suitability of that structure.
I agree.
If you slip form in, you're talking about earthquakes, we slip formed everything over in Seattle, clear up to Alaska, with the slip forms.
Yeah.
And, they have earthquakes over there.
Oh, sure. No, I'm not.
Absolutely.
I'm not disputing that. I think Mr. James indicated that putting a new exterior on this by that method would be cost prohibitive, so based on their estimates, that it would
You
not
might
be,
know better.
might not be cost effective, but, so, but the other thing is it has to hold water, and the, yeah, what steel we have and the condition of it in the floor of that tank that's holding the millions of pounds that are in there, and how we continue to keep water in there is another piece of the, significant piece of the discussion.
Yeah, let's talk about risk quickly, because I think that's important here. So with this tank, it's an old government-built concrete tank. You know they built them really well back in the day. We know the coating is flaking off the inside.
It's going, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we've got patches of it,
patches of it remain.
but it's not uniform. So let's say we decide we're going to coat this. The first risk is how do you do work on the only tank you have? And you're fortunate that you had the Farragut Park tank. I don't know how to keep these two different in nomenclature. Do you call it the Park tank and this is the baby tank?
I
Sure.
guess they're called blue and gold.
Blue and calico.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Blue and old.
So what you could do is right now the wells pump into this tank. The wells we don't think can pump all the way to the park tanks because that tank is higher. But maybe you could get the park to run their well during wintertime and do the work in winter. That means you're kind of jury rigging this thing for the period of time, and then you're trying to coat the tank when the weather's not good. It's cold, it's wet. That's not great for coatings. We'd rather do it in the middle of summer. I don't know how you do that. So that's risk number one. Risk number two is like Robin said, let's say it's fine for 20 years and then you get a crack in it, something where you start to fail. There's almost nothing you can do that's quick to rehab that. Then you end up using the park tank again. So you could use let's say you get failure here, then you figure out how to use a park tank because you're in an emergency situation. The bummer of an emergency though is you pay a lot higher prices because you're not able to plan.
If you're post-tension it, save a lot of iron by post-tension it after you.
Yeah, you can do that. Still takes a lot of steel, and it's up high.
Yeah, they're post.
Right. So anyway, yeah, there are lots of things you could do here. The hard part is how do you work on it while you're using it? You could do some really basic things, right? You could just do some crack sealing, call it good, and say, hey, in 20 years we're going to deal with this tank. So you spend very little money on it, and you don't use DEQ money, you use Bayview Water District funds, whatever you can afford. And you know, you've got some problems with the stairway going up, the ocean improvements, you're out of compliance there. But maybe you can get a small enough project that you self-fund and don't need a funding source for. So there's funding agency risk, there's construction risk, how you do it, and there's what happens if it fails risk. So that's on one side. On a new tank, there's some risks also.
An additional difficulty that is attendant with that tank location is that we've got all of that old pipe that goes there.
And you have the old pipe.
So might be money ahead just to forget about that old tank, build a new one right beside it.
Or actually, a better spot would be up here above, because then you don't have to build it so
When you're
tall.
building that tank, you can still use that one.
Exactly. You keep it in service during that time.
Yeah, that's an advantage of building a new tank.
The disadvantage of a new tank is there's a lot of public, how do you say it? Pressure against that.
Resistance.
Resistance,
Resistance
thank
is
you,
good.
yeah. And I think for a couple of reasons. One is development. Is if you build a new tank, is that gonna allow this whole hillside to develop over here? Help me with some of the other concerns folks have had.
Well, we'd just be matching capacity, we wouldn't build a new tank to
Wasn't increased.
capacity plus increased capacity.
You do get better
And our
fire
district
flow.
has boundaries, we don't
Yeah,
have a lot of space outside the boundaries.
so it wouldn't be like we would,
Inside boundaries.
if we built a new tank, like you say, around this side of town, it's not like we would double the size so that we could, take in development. We're just simply replacing the capacity of the tank that we have.
But I think it is fair to say that development or apprehension about the potential for development was a source of anxiety in the
One of the
community. It was
issues.
something that people worried about.
Well,
I think the cost of it was probably across the board. You know, people had a lot of reasons they were against it, but almost everybody thought it cost too much.
And it's definitely more money.
Right, that's what I think it was, the cost effective, I think people think that the other tank, this rehabbing is be cheaper.
So,
Yeah.
but when we penciled it out, we saw that they were very close in cost
There's about a $600,000 difference.
Yeah.
between Dromore and, well, you gotta include Dromore.
No, when you include
And
Dromore,
the-
when you include Dromore, then the difference between
Wasn't that-
building the new tank and rehabbing the tank was only about $600,000.
I thought it was even less than that.
No, that's about right.
Is it about right?
I mean,
And I think
I'm rounding to 600.
Yeah, we're just using
Okay.
100,000
580,
here,
come on, go
100,000.
580.
Yeah, that's.
So like your 580.
Well, the difference between project A and B was 639,000. The difference between project A and C was 1,122,000. But when you deduct the cost, or when you account for the $500,000 cost of the Dromore tank replacement, then the differential is 622,000.
And that was our pipeline cost.
Well, and the additional tank at Dromore.
Right, yeah. And you could decide as a board to phase that, so you could do your tank now and draw more later. I mean, there are lots of ways you can slice this one. It's really, the hard part about smaller districts is this might be your one shot, right? You try to get it done at once, and you get, the bigger the project is, the more economy of scale you get. If you try to piecemeal it over